We've got the music this morning to start with is meditative, and so we're leading into the service with a relaxation and a centering. So if you'd like to, you can close your eyes and begin to let the peace that passes understanding, really, enter your hearts and minds and bodies. So take a long, slow, deep breath and feel the energy that's running through your body settling. As you breathe deeply, you can feel it go all the way down into your abdomen. Oh, just allow your mind to sink down to your heart. Because together we create this space here that we say is sacred space. We invite our breath to connect us with the Ruach, the breath of God. We connect this morning with people all over this nation who are remembering 9/11. Let our breath in this moment, breathing deeply, connect us with people, some who are feeling sad, many who are feeling many deep things, but with us feeling hopeful too, and feeling thankful that we can come into a space like this where we can renew ourselves and renew our commitment to peace. So, Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, Creator, we need you. We're imperfect humans and we're growing, but we really, really need you. So that's why we're here today, to get an infilling, to get a reminder, to get a touch-in with the power of love. So come and be with us now. Help us to come into this stillness and really know and feel that you're present with us. I invite you to join me if you like, or just sit. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am God. Be still. Be still and know you some might call lunatics heretics sometimes, but we do believe that within each person, God, in the fullness of God, is. One of the Unity teachers said that in your big toe is all of God. It's quite a mystery, and we don't really take advantage of that very well. To really call upon that wisdom, that greater knowing in any particular moment. But it's there. On that horrific morning of September 11th, 2001, many of us all over the country were calling on that power of God. We were praying. Whatever faith tradition we came from, we were praying as we watched what we watched on TV that morning. It's one of those moments when we probably all remember where we were when it happened, right? Lucky me, I was with Sandra Ingerman, a shamanic teacher, and we were leading a workshop with doctors and lawyers in a big circle, and so we got to ground in and was outside and pray together and send energy to all the people in New York City. Tear-drenched eyes have met in silent recognition of the pain that in many cases remains fresh and raw before us this morning, because, East Coast time zone, they've been meeting earlier than us, and when we're heading toward this day here in Ashland of commemorating September 11th and 15th anniversary, one person said to me, it always seems like it's very distant in the past when we're not thinking about it, but as we come close to this day, the years melt away and it feels like it just happened yesterday. So that brought me to think about this present moment, only moment, is what we've got. So what do we do with it? To bring into being a world in which global terrorism is no longer an everyday household term is bigger than any one of us individually can do. Of course, we know that the nations as political units, the leaders and rulers of these nations, and religious leaders, all of our leaders have to come together to lay aside their animosities and divisive self-interests. Their misguided aspirations to power over others must give way to the gentler art of power with others. We must get it so deeply that we are all interbeing. Meanwhile, until the big guys and gals get that, what can we, each of us individually, do? Well, as hackneyed as it may sound, we can each commit to letting peace begin with us. This is what we sing about and pray about at Unity. It's a spiritual practice, and it takes practice on all of our parts when we get hurt. Here's a poem that gives us some suggestions about how to wage peace, not war. It's by a woman named Judith Hill. Wage peace with your breath. Breathe in firemen and rubble. Breathe out whole buildings and flocks of red-winged birds. Breathe in terrorists and breathe out sleeping children in freshly mown fields. Breathe in confusion and breathe out maple trees. Breathe in the fallen and breathe out lifelong friendships intact. Wage peace with your listening, hearing sirens, pray out loud. Remember your tools, flower seeds, clothespins, clean rivers, making soup. Play music. Learn the word for thank you in 3 languages. Learn to knit and make a hat and give it to a homeless person. Think of chaos as dancing raspberries. Imagine grief as the out-of-breath beauty or the gesture of the fish tail moving in the water. That's grief. Swimming for the other side. Wage peace. Never has the world seemed so fresh and precious. So have a cup of tea with a friend today and rejoice. Act as if armistice has already arrived. Why not? Present moment, only moment. Let's celebrate peace today. Aho. Amen.
Aho.
Now we've got our next wonderful song by Jane, and I'm so thankful to have Jane singing with us today because she's written this song shortly after 9/11 happened. She's from New York City, so it's really dear to her heart. And I always love this song, but it just seems so apropos for this day that Jane gets to sing this for us. Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome. I also want to ask someone to crack the door open because I think it's locked. So just to open it somehow. My friend died 6 months before 2001, and he was my oldest and dearest friend. So I'm going to sing this. I may not be able to, I might cry, so oh well. You are with me forever and a day. Your love caresses me even when you're not here. I find myself wondering this life is all about. Then you're guiding me through when this world is changing too. I tell you, I have found such peace in spirit and in faith. I have found such peace in giving love away. There's a sanctuary that lives inside. There's a sanctuary where we reside. So slow down, feel your feet on the ground. Breathe in, feel the love that's within, and you'll know that love never dies, and you'll know that love never leaves. I find myself wanting to see you again, sharing the laughter and the sweetness too. I know you are with me, no matter where I am. You're deep inside of me, a lasting memory. I tell you, I have found such peace in spirit and in faith. I have found such peace in giving love away. I have found such peace in spirit and in faith. I have found such peace in giving love away. Slow down.
That song really delivers peace by making us slow down. And when we've gone through trauma, lots of times it's a temptation to speed up. It's always a mistake, I think. So to slow down when difficult things happen, and especially go out in nature. Because in nature, something magical happens, doesn't it? And we find that connection. I remember when my grandmother died, and I just was longing to see her again, as Jane's song talks about. There was a moment when I was out in nature when I felt like I saw her everywhere. I was connected with her in everything I looked at. So I've asked Dennis to come up and read this wonderful poem by Wendell Berry, you know, the great ecologist and theologian who writes this poem about the peace that we can find in the wild things. Want to read it by the mic over here? Oh, there's the mic right there, Dennis got it. Okay, thank you.
Is that on?
It's on.
Yes.
The peace of wild things. When despair grows in me and I wake in the middle of the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting for their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
That's beautiful. And then I've asked Mira, Jane's good friend, to come and read another poem. Don't You Just Love Rainer Maria Rilke? This is another beautiful poem about, yes, say something. Is the mic
Okay,
Yeah, there it is.
everybody hear me? This morning when I woke up, I was thinking too, where was I? On 9/11/2001, and I was with Jane. And we were in the Bay Area, We had just finished a women's event. And I woke to the shock of that news and thought of Jane immediately, being a New Yorker. And I jumped out of bed and went to the room where she was staying. It was called the Whimsy Room. And I remember getting on top of her body because she was weeping so hard. And we just breathed together and held each other. And that was our community that morning, the unity of that community. So I woke up thinking of you, Jane, today. And I'm reading this. I'm a stand-in for our dear Anya Kumara, who usually reads poems, I know, here. And we are both lovers of poetry, and especially Rilke. This is Sonnets to Orpheus, Part 1. You who let yourselves feel, enter the breathing that is more than your own. Let it brush your cheeks as it divides and rejoins beside you. Blessed ones, whole ones, you where the heart begins. You are the bow that shoots the arrows, and you are the target. Fear not pain. Let its weight fall back into the earth. For heavy are the mountains, heavy are the seas. The trees you planted in childhood have grown too heavy. You cannot bring them along. Give yourselves to the air, to what you cannot hold.
So there are those times when we can't hold it all, when it's too much. And I love that story, Mira, of you just being there for Jane. We all thought of the New Yorkers that we knew that day, I remember. Don't you? We were all thinking, who do I know in New York? How can I send comfort to them? So it's a wonderful story. In looking through my books this week to think about what to talk about, I came upon a book by Deepak Chopra, and he took the time to write this whole book on what he said is one of Jesus' most difficult teachings, and that is to love our enemies. A modern translation of Matthew 5:48, he starts out with quoting Jesus as saying, "Just as your heavenly Creator is complete in showing love to everyone, so also you must be complete." I like how this translation uses the word complete, because I've learned from the native elders who are my teachers that we're on a journey to completion. And I've tried to dedicate my life to walking this path of heart, but it's challenging at times. This teaching of Jesus is a really challenging teaching. Following, I want to share with you a couple of stories of people who chose to go this route towards completion in the aftermath of 9/11. To love our enemies and be in selfless service to all who are in need is our spiritual calling. And it's hard to do it when our hearts are really hurt sometimes. There are thousands and thousands of great stories of those who did that on the very day and at the very time and the site of the attack of 9/11 and in its aftermath. So today I draw on stories from people, I tried to get them from people of churches and synagogues and mosques and spiritual peoples of all beliefs who walked their faith on that day. So here's an example. The United Methodist Church of St. Paul and St. Andrew is just 6 miles from the site of the World Trade Center. And following the terror attacks of September 11th, they found ways to respond to this act of hate with love. That first Sunday after the Trade Tower attack, and each year on the anniversary of 9/11, they hold an interfaith dinner. They said, we bring together 50 Christians, 50 Jews, and 50 Muslims. And this Reverend Carpin, who was there back then and is still there today, She's the pastor, and she says, we gather for a meal that we call the Peace Feast because we share readings from our different traditions about peace. So peace feasts were started there by this Church of St. Paul and St. Andrew in New York, and now they've spread all over the country. To host a peace feast, what you do is bring together people of Jewish, Muslim, and Christian backgrounds for a meal and a dialogue. Reverend Carpenter said, my favorite part is always in the beginning, when we're trying to make sure all the tables are mixed up, you know? So we always have people who are calling out, come on over here, Muslim, come over here. We need a Jew over here. Anybody got a Christian? Come over here, we want them with us. One year a rabbi noticed the beauty in this chaos and he said, hey, this is paradise. This is how it's going to be in heaven. It isn't going to be like, you're not like me, stay away. It's going to be, hey, Jews, Muslims, Christians, come, let's be together. I think he's right, don't you? Chaplains at Ground Zero, they went through a lot that day. One woman who was already serving as a chaplain for the New York City Fire Department found herself in the difficult role of being called to go to the morgue. When the human remains were pouring in, she said the following prayer over each one of them. She said, we pray for the repose of the soul of this person. May they be at peace. May they have died a quick and painless death. May their family be at rest. Let us never forget that they gave their life for something bigger than all of us. May it serve a good purpose. Blessed be. Later, she said when she was thinking about it, she never stopped to decide who deserved respect or who didn't. Who knows, she said, it could have been the hijackers' bodies right there too. I don't know. But each person's life had dignity. Each had a mother and a father. Each deserved the same prayer. Another Reverend Jan Carlson Bull was assistant minister at All Souls Church in New York City, right near Ground Zero. She was also called forth to be on chaplain duty that day, and she said this, this is ground that has been defiled and ground that is sacred. She said, this place is a testament to humanity at the apex of our possibility for evil, and humanity at the apex of our possibility for good. Things are complex. As soon as the attack happened, Reverend Jacob Tenhove and Reverend Barbara Wells, who were co-ministers at this Paint Branch Presbyterian Church in Adelphi, Maryland, across the bridge from the city, pulled together an interfaith candlelight vigil at night. It was attended by 500 people. The vigil was held by Muslim, Jewish, Baha'i, Christian, Hindu, clergy all came together. It was so bonding for all who were there that night when so much blame and fear were flying around. Reverend Tenhove wrote a week after the attack, so much goodwill was exchanged with great hope amongst all those different religious subcultures. At one point I overheard one of the local Muslims and a rabbi talking over their teachings, and they were saying which parts that were the same and how they agreed on so many things. This has helped me sustain the conviction, she said, that we can defeat terrorism by building ever greater solidarity across our cultural diversities. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Then there were the play therapists that were there. Play therapists. What part did they have to play at Ground Zero? Well, Athena Drews was a psychologist and a member of the UU of Orange County in Rock Tavern, New York, and she was called on to volunteer as the coordinator of the play therapists. And so when adults came to Pier 94, the Center for Relief Agencies, the adults would be dragging their children along with them, and lots of times she said the adults were in such a state of shock and, you know, trying to deal with all of their needs of not having a place to stay or what they were going to do. And so it was so great that the play therapists were there. And the kids' corner, it was called. It was a place where in the midst of it all, the children could play and laugh and talk with us and do artwork. The children seemed to welcome a chance to be listened to about how it was for them. And she said a lot of their play was quite aggressive and their drawings were very graphic. Yet we knew how to be present to their trauma and help them express this in a state of being that would eventually help them work through it better. So the play therapists. Music therapy too was present. Another person who found his way to serve was a violin student at Juilliard School. You know, that's one of the nation's top music conservatories there in New York. 6 days after the Trade Center had collapsed, William Harvey was part of a string quartet that Juilliard sent to play for the rescue workers and their families of the missing. When the other musicians got tired out after hours of playing, he stayed, playing solo for 2.5 more hours, largely for the rescue workers as they came back from digging in the rubble pile, and largely futile searches for survivors. Harvey, he'd gone to church in Indiana all his life, he said, and he just had a feeling that he wanted to give love on that day, so he played everything he knew by memory, from Bach's B minor partita to Turkey in the Straw. He played Tchaikovsky, Vivaldi, Dvorak, Paganini, Amazing Grace, on and on till his fingers felt like they were going to fall off. But somehow it didn't matter that by the end of the whole thing, his intonation was shot. He said, the men would come up the stairs in full gear and stop and listen to the music and take off their helmets and look at me and either cry or smile. At 11:30 p.m., he played the national anthem as 300 exhausted workers saluted an invisible flag with tears streaming down their faces. He said, not only was this evening the proudest I've ever felt to be an American, it was my most meaningful moment of my life so far as a musician and as a person. I've never had a more appreciative audience, and I've never understood so fully what it means to communicate the healing power of music to other people. So no matter what our personal problems are, we see over and over again that in challenging times like 9/11, we humans do seem to know who we are and what we have to give, and we go about doing it. Isn't that true? I've had quite a few apocalyptic dreams in my life, living in the kind of times that we do. And they've always been hopeful for our humanity coming through at this end game time. I've seen in my dreams a time when the veil of self-limiting beliefs drops from our eyes and we know who we are, and we look and we see each other clearly. And together, in great common cause, we go about doing what we're each capable of doing to bring about the great healing, the great turning into a new era. We're learning how to clear and cleanse of our trauma wounds in order to be true to our values and our highest callings. We have to both learn how to set good boundaries to bullying energy. That's important. And yet we also have to work on healing our perceptions of danger. So on this 15th year after the awakening call of 9/11, we remind ourselves of who we really are, and we say, let's keep the faith. Let's see who we really are. Because that song just rings through my mind at times like this. United we stand, divided we fall. And when our backs will be against the wall, we'll be together, you and I. We're going to sing this wonderful song now that is a kirtan song. And it's, again, it's a meditative kind of song, and Jane found it because it has the meaning of a protection song. Do you know the exact translation of the words, Jane?
Yes, it's on the paper. I bow to the primal wisdom. I bow to the wisdom through the ages. I bow to the true wisdom. I bow to the great unseen wisdom. And I do invite you all to sing, because there really is something about the vibration of singing, of healing and singing. So feel free to join whenever you can. No pressure. Jugat Guru Name, 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 Jugat earth.
Norma, may I share something? Sure. This morning before I left my home, my daughter came into my room and she was shaken but stirred in a very good way, filled with awe. You know, the surprises that come so unexpectedly. And she had opened up her computer and saw the black ribbon on the computer screen and was wondering, oh, what is this? You know, because she had awakened from prayers and everything and hadn't put in the connection that today was 9/11. She also creates these collages and she prays for divine government. And one collage that is on her wall right there by her computer is a collage of Lady Portia, who holds the energy of the divine feminine and destroys that which is not in balance and brings into balance the masculine and the feminine. And also the Capitol building behind that and other symbols of peace. And as she recalled, as she was able to make the connection in the black ribbon with 9/11, that peeled off her wall and fell on her desk. And so when I left the house, she was taking that into prayer.
Beautiful. And someone else have to share. I just want to say you all always tune in to what I have planned next, because the next slot I had here was for prayers of the people. Perfect. There's a mic.
Good morning, beautiful ones. I'm Kevala. I was recently so blessed to be invited to Ground Zero. I was actually there to meet a trademark lawyer for Bliss Bar, and I had never been to Ground Zero before, but he said that's where I needed to go to meet him. And so I realized the enormity of this pilgrimage as I made my way on the subway, and I realized that it was 15 years ago when I actually had my daughter in my belly when 9/11 occurred, and so I began to go into my inner work beyond just this meeting with the lawyer about the enormity of where I was about to enter. And I hadn't watched much news, actually, and I really didn't even have a clue what the space would look like. And so as I entered the environment, I realized I was walking down Church Street. I think one of the side streets is called Church Street around. And I went through this long tunnel under construction, and it was quite an emotional process you could feel amongst the people. You know, the energy as we got closer and closer to the heart of it was kind of building, and I kept saying to myself and to the trademark lawyer, actually, I need to find some flowers. I want to go there with flowers. And he kind of said to me, well, I don't know if you're going to find any flowers. And I just thought, well, I'm certain to find flowers, you know, at this massive memorial for a global, you know, honoring of our loved ones and those that fell that day with the tower. And lo and behold, as I stepped into the heart of what is considered now the One World Trade Center and the memorial, I don't know if they call it memorial, is that what they call it? I was rather shocked and surprised because there was not a flower petal to be found. I mean, I must have walked up all the acreage surrounding it, and there was very little color. It was actually a gigantic steel gray, cold, square, and concrete experience, and little trees that were in concrete circles, and the trees had numbers and dog tags hanging off of them. And I was by myself, and I felt like a child kind of wandering through, trying to understand what I was experiencing, and I came to realize that the massive square thing I was looking at was the footprint of the original building, and that they had installed the names of the fallen ones on those kind of grave placards was the boundary all around this huge square experience, and that inside the square was water going down a level and then into another square, and the water disappeared, and you couldn't see where the water went. And I felt very upset about this. And it was a visceral, emotional process. I just thought, this big square gray thing and the water falling into who knows, and I just wanted flowers, and I felt rather devastated and upset, and I didn't know how to connect. I was really at a loss for what to do. I think the flowers were kind of my engagement piece, and when that was taken away, I just felt a little lost. And so I stood by one of the placards and looking out at this water, wondering how far does it go down, what happens to it when it gets there. And I realized that this little child was to my right, and it caught my attention. And I looked down at this little child, and lo and behold, the child's hand was going into the wall, and she was touching the water. And I hadn't even realized that there was a break in the concrete, and that the waterfall, or whatever was going off into the great beyond, was accessible to me. And as a yogi, I realized I could do something. And I knelt down and I greeted this child and thanked the child for bringing me into presence. And I put my hands into the water and began to pray. And I actually chanted Adgari Name, the protection mantra. And it just touched me so deeply to feel that bridge work today of how the vibration of our prayer was the same current of life and love and forgiveness and prayer that I put into the water just a few weeks ago. And so we can always do something, even in the face of confusion and disconnect and at a loss of even, how to relate to a tragedy. We can always extend our hand in prayer.
I appreciate you bringing us right present to what it looks like now.
Yeah.
I wanted to take us into a slightly deeper place now. A teaching in answer to that question, what can we do now? It's a good segue. Because there's a lot of work that we need to still do on ourselves in the aftermath of 9/11. I mean, we have done a lot of work, we continue to, but there's work we need to do. So there's a teaching from the Course in Miracles that I think really applies to the remembrance of this day of 9/11. It's lesson 132, and it says, "If I defend myself, I am attacked." You know the basic teaching of the Course in Miracles, that the only thing that's real is love, right? And everything else that is not a manifestation of love is an illusion. And we have one basic choice to make over and over. Will we believe in love or fear? So in our ego mind, it will tend to say that the thing out there needs to be defended against. And then we push against it. But from a metaphysical point of view, the more you resist, the more it persists, right? So like the Abraham Hicks teachings try to get across to us, what we focus on, we tend to attract in a backwards fashion. We think we're getting rid of things by pushing against them, but we're actually drawing them to us. We keep saying, no more overeating, yet we overeat. No more depression, and we get more depression. No more war, we get war. Did you know that's why Mother Teresa would never go to an anti-war protest, but she would go to a peace march? Slightly different emphasis, but very important. My dad used to say, you have to put the emphasis on the right syllable. Or it will make sense. So the more we keep saying, I am separate, the more separate we will feel from Source, from our peace. Then the more division there will be, the more drama, the more mess. So we have to look at how these principles operate in our little everyday lives. The mess in our houses, in our offices, in our families, in our church. Comes from our errors in thinking and perceiving, says the Course in Miracles. Some of you have mentioned this week that you think I might be speaking in an indirect way about some of the struggles that we have here at Unity. And I just want to reply that I'm not speaking in an indirect way each week. I'm always very direct and honest and forthright. And that's what I'm known for, and that's what people like. What I do is I use my sermon-making time for my own life. I have to, every week. I'm not perfect. I have to improve myself. I try to all the time. That's what I've always done all these years, and I've really held it as a great privilege to be the Unity minister, to try to draw myself to Spirit's accountability to the highest standard of having to go through first anything that I might want you to go through. It's always a big challenge in our world and in ourselves, how to discern when to set boundaries and say no, And at the same time, when there are teachable moments, like they say in NVC, there are certain moments when people can be taught about nonviolent communication. So as much as we can find our way through problems and disagreements to a more common ground, that's my heart's desire. It's a challenge when wounds go so deep, like with Native American and African American friends. It's a big challenge at times to come to a table of reconciliation. Yet we must do all the cleansing and humble healing work we can to bring about those true reconciliations in our world, no matter how long they take. As Maya Angelou said, we'll keep our eyes on that prize. So the Course in Miracles is telling us the more we keep saying, I'm separate, the more separate we will feel from the source of peace. Like many of us knew at the time of 9/11, this world stage, this arena of politics, it's a good realm for us to see ourselves reflected. The divisions outside of us in the political arena are a great lesson writ large on the screen of the world for us to have to accept and realize that there are divisions that remain deep inside of ourselves in the microcosm of ourselves. We still have them there, even though we want to have the mindset of peace. So like New Thought teachings and Thich Nhat Hanh and lots of others say, everything out there is a part of my consciousness. It's hard to accept, yet what about this interbeing thing? This bodhisattva thing? Radical interbeingness is quite a challenging concept to accept, from Jesus' day till ours. So the Course in Miracles says, when you defend yourself, you attack yourself. Most of us get to attacking because underneath is a fear of death. We scratch the surface of an attack mindset, and underneath we're fearing something. The death of our bodies, maybe, but also the fear of loss of a way of life or a set of beliefs. We get really attached to the way things have been, to our comfort zones, attached to the way we thought things were supposed to be. Why do humans get all geared up, armored up to kill? Because we get so attached to the wrong things. This fear of death is keeping us captive way too long on planet Earth, don't you think? I tell you, I died and came back. You know, I had a near-death experience, and here's the deal. It's all love. That's the deal. The universe really is all about love, and we are here to learn to know this in the deepest, most difficult, most sacred moments. If you picture a little tiny dot, that's your body, and then all around that is you. Eternal, forever beings. We get so confused. We think that our whole world is this little dot of our bodies. Our whole self is this little dot of our bodies. The ego tells us that our body is the whole thing, and the little dot inside of us is our spirit. But really it's the opposite. Our spirit is the whole thing, and the little dot is our body. This helps us understand how in the Course of Miracles in Chapter 5, Lesson 132, it says, we are very confused when we think we are a body. The body does not need you to defend it. You say your home is open to the thief of time, so unsafe it must be guarded with your very life. Yet it is not the body that can fear nor be a thing of fear. It has no needs but those we assign to it. Are you with me? Are you feeling this? This idea that we assign to our body, that we have to defend it, the idea that the body must be defended, is a fearful way to walk through this world. The idea that our nation must be defended, that our homeland must be defended, is a fearful way to walk through this world. We can get so stressed and so obsessed with making sure that the body is okay, that our homeland is okay, every second. But the Course in Miracles asks us, can you be at peace with such a concept of your home? Can we ever really be at peace if we harbor this concept that our home is something we must always be defending? No, we spiritual Americans must ask ourselves this most important question. It is your mind that gives you all the functions the body has, and your mind that sets your value. So, can the mind do this continually tiring act, this never-ending defending of your body against death, and really be doing what it's supposed to be doing? So the bottom line is, we humans do have a self-concept issue, and we know this at Unity because we talk about this a lot. We have strayed into thinking that we are our body, when in truth we are the love and the peace and the joy that is always flowing in this universe. You hear me on that? We really get tricked into thinking that we're little, when really we are a part of this flowing universe of love. Well, it's like if you think about your car. If you tried to hold on to your car for 100 years, as long as you might live, you're screwed, because everything is going to break down. Whatever we attach our self-concept to actually leads us astray. So we got to get new cars sometimes, and we have to get new bodies sometimes. The Course in Miracles tells us we have a self-identification problem. We say things like, I can't be happy until I'm thin, or until I have my health back, or until I have my facelift, or until I get the perfect partner, or until I have a better job, or have more money, then I'll be happy. Problem is, if you depend on something you can get to make you happy, you'll never be happy. We know this. But the ego tries really hard to keep us stuck and believing that we are these things. But ironically, the more we are attached to thinking that we are anything external and defending those things, we are not safer. Really, we just get more stuck. We so often judge our body or others' bodies. As the bodies move through this world, we judge. We judge our personality, we judge other personalities, and we tell ourselves something is wrong with me or something is wrong with her. I'm not smart enough, they're not kind enough, or whatever our judgments happen to be. We err on the side of harshly judging. And then ironically, we try to protect ourselves from our damaging self-concepts, and it's such a vicious cycle. Judge, protect, defend. Judge, protect, defend. On and on and on. We don't even realize how we're perpetuating attack mentality in our daily lives and not peace. We've got a lot to learn. I've got a lot to learn. Like that old Peter, Paul, and Mary song said, when will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? Where have all the flowers gone? Where have all the young men gone? Gone to war zones everywhere. When will we ever learn? The body is in need of no defense. This cannot be talked about or emphasized too often. We all need to be reminded. The body will be our good friend and vehicle of life on this planet if the mind is not assigning it roles it cannot handle. We're so hard on our dear bodies. Really, we assign them the wrong tasks. We put all these things onto this body, but ultimately we try to make it that the body will bring us peace. But really, the body is a beautiful, amazingly functioning system, yet neutral. And it does wear out. Again, the Course in Miracles reminds us, here we are putting these expectations on this body that has to be our forever savior. These ideas are the source for the many mad attacks we make upon our bodies. You've heard the saying, when you are not in ease, you create dis-ease. When you're not in ease, you create dis-ease. We've all done it. We all do it. I do it. You do it. No blame here. Just that this is our human lesson that we're working on here. How do we create our reality? We are humbly here to learn. This is the pattern of how we usually create our reality. We get hurt. We develop defense mechanisms. That's part of the natural world. You know, if the cell gets damaged, the film builds up around it. But then we humans get real attached to our ways of defending. We attach to seeing things a certain way. We attach to complaining and to accusing others and to gossip. And we get attached to our criticisms of ourselves, our bodies, our parents, our politicians. These defense mechanisms seem to work for a while. They do protect us for a while. But then they become dysfunctional. That's why we just humbly honor all the ways we've tried to protect ourselves. We do. We need protection. We need to feel safe. So we honor all the ways that we've tried to protect ourselves, but we just have to admit this old way has gotten dysfunctional. They don't really help us after a while, but instead they separate us more and more from one another and from our truer love essence selves. So when the defenses are being revealed to be inadequate, too often we humans get threatened and we focus on the wrong things. We focus on more and more protection instead of on doing our shadow work and changing ourselves, our own perceptions. So doing our shadow work feels like it goes against what we've been taught. Like it can feel like fish swimming upstream, but ironically it's really much easier if we do take the time out and look over our left shoulder into the face of death and heal our misperceptions. Do you agree with me on that? What the Course in Miracles says we have to learn is the self that needs protection is not real. The self that needs protection is not real, not our real self. Like I was saying a little while ago, we know this about material objects more, that we keep a car until it's done, worn out, and then we get a different one. So who is the real me? We've got to constantly be letting go of our defending of the body so that we can know our real self more and more. And at the gate of death, that's when we leap into knowing our real self so much more. So these thoughts of attack on others to protect ourselves are what we need to be healed from. The need to protect our body, protect our homeland, protect our way of life, protect our concepts. This is not really the best way to our well-being. What needs healing is our minds, our ways of thinking and perceiving. In the journey to completion, we know that we do need to take the time out sometimes when we're getting really triggered to heal our trauma wounds of the past. So if you feel especially triggered on 9/11, the triggering is just a signal that it's time to rest, get quiet, go in nature, and release our bodies from the tightly held defense mechanisms, because that's how we get so worn out. Then we can get back in touch with our inner guidance system that's there in our body. And our wonderful bodies, our dear bodies, will respond with truly guiding and helping us with a greater wisdom. The Course in Miracles says, with your mind you distress your body. Hope must lie in the healing of our minds if we would heal our bodies. We don't want to keep distressing our bodies this way, so the change in perception is the body's only real healing and real defense. We humans keep trying to find peace by building walls, homeland defense systems, yet we're changing the wrong things and raising up these outer structures. At the core, it's our thoughts that need to be healed so that we can really be free, really free from fear. We need to set our body free. We need to set our body politic free. Know the truth, and the truth will set us free. So we've got to courageously keep studying things like were said 2,000 years ago by Jesus, like love your enemies. Teachings like these, great spiritual teachings about how to be truly free, isn't that what America's supposed to be about? The land of the free and the home of the brave. So I encourage us all today to take up the courage again, this American courage, and tell ourselves, if I defend myself, I am attacked. Love our enemies. Rather than striking out in defense, do our inner healing work, our shadow study. And by getting the gifts from our shadows, we're going to truly heal. We're going to know deeper truths about ourselves, about our family origins, about our community. When we take the opportunity of challenging times to excavate and examine our wounded places, then we do release. We release and we let go. And our bodies are let go from a weight. We release our bodies from hauling around the burden of our fears. That's the real liberation. If we take this inner peace work as our top priority, don't you think we really can heal the world? one person at a time, beginning with me. That's our unity mission statement. Let's do it. While we take the offering,
There's someone that wants to share.
oh,
I just think if I can share my experience that day.
Could you have the
Use the
microphone?
mic.
thank you.
I left my home that morning in Brooklyn, New York. My 3-year-old daughter, my 9-month-old daughter, and my then husband, and got on a train from Brooklyn to Manhattan headed to Columbia University, where I was working with Earth Friends, an after-school program teaching children about composting and recycling. And this particular subway train goes under the World Trade Center. And when we got to that stop, students from BMCC, Brooklyn Manhattan Community College, were coming onto the train saying, they sent us all home saying a plane hit the tower. And I just, you overhear things on the subway passing, and wow, that's strange. And I stayed on the train, and I rode all the way up to 116th Street in Manhattan. And when I got off the train, I always remember I turned around and I saw the second tower fall. And still it was very surreal. So I went about my business. I went into the university, and there was a custodian there with a transistor radio. And I heard on the radio that the Pentagon had been hit. And at that moment I said, okay, something serious is going on here. I've got to get back to Brooklyn. My breast started swelling. I was nursing my daughter at the time, and it took me 9 hours to get home, and I wasn't able to contact my family. But I have to say this, and the reason why I'm sharing this, because that day changed my life, because my faith in humanity and the love and the power of love that you're speaking of was restored that day. Any New Yorker knows that in New York, there's this glass between everyone. People don't look at each other and speak to each other. You're going about, you might bump into one another, and you don't even acknowledge one another. That day, the towers weren't the only thing that fell. That glass wall between everyone fell. And I witnessed humanity that day in a way that I've never seen since, and I carry it with me. Most people's cell phones didn't work. Only Verizon worked. And I will tell you, I literally saw a Hasidic Jew and a Muslim woman in full hijab, full Islamic garb, sharing a cell phone. I saw people of all walks of life interacting, talking, hugging, comforting one another that day on my journey from Manhattan back to Brooklyn. And it was incredible. And that is what I remember most. Not the fear, not the angst, not the getting home to my family, didn't know whether I was okay or not. It was those moments of seeing humanity in that way, and seeing that, especially in the face of terror and turmoil, human beings come together in love.
As we go into our last time together here, we're going to do our offering while we're doing this, but I want to lead into this song by saying, would you be willing to answer yes after this? Can we affirm the possibility of a world in which peace based on justice and freedom for all prevails?
Yes.
Yes. Can we take small steps to make our own community more peaceful and just? Yes. To make this a place where the interdependence of all is recognized and valued? Yes. Then may we begin, each of us, to imagine the ways that we are called to bring forth peace in our lifetime. On this day of focusing on peace, I'll leave you with two thoughts. Unthinkably good things can and do happen all the time.
Yeah. Oh.
And number 2, no matter what challenges beset you, this can be the best day of your life, if you think it can be.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living a life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possession. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the worry. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one.
Thank you for giving generously, and so our President Treasurer asked me to say that we need you to give generously because we're kind of falling below meeting our bills each week. So here's the offering bags, and we're going to bless them with our wonderful prayer that says it multiplies what you give. But if you'd like to multiply what you can give a little bit more and make it back later if you want. All right. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you. And so it is. And so it is. Thank you, everybody. Let's get in our big closing circle. Actually, today I thought it would be nice if we, rather than being a big open circle like that, if we all would come up front, if you could. And we're going, as you're gathering up here, if you need to sit, you can sit, but if you can stand, just come around in a circle, a multi-layered circle up here in front. just feel, Rabbi David often does this in the Havara. I love the feeling of this. Coming closer, coming in close, moving together here, and just feeling our compact energy together. And while you're moving in, Donna's got a few announcements to make, so listen up.
So as many of you know, we have a prayer circle every Monday at 5 o'clock right here in the Havara in the back room. You're welcome to attend. You're welcome to fill out a prayer request form to be prayed for. And those are on the back table by our prayer box. Also, I know it's a little early to talk about Thanksgiving Day, but I want to talk just briefly about Thanksgiving. Many of us, or some of us, have chosen to be vegetarians, and sometimes there's not a lot of places for us to go on that day. So I have a particular venue in town. I'm hosting a vegetarian or vegan, either way, potluck. If you're interested in participating in that, see me and I'll give you a form to fill out. And I'll talk more about it in future days, but that's it for that. I also want to mention, some of you are new here, and we do have it's kind of late now to tell you, but during the service, our ladies' room becomes a unigender restroom. So if you're looking, there could be men or women in there, is what I'm saying. You might want to lock the door just in case. Also, it's wonderful to support our wonderful musicians by buying their CDs, and Dr. Jane has CDs back there. So does Richard Williams. Let's get down a hand.
And Richard is the musician on my...
One more important and big announcement is that our Ashland Culture of Peace Commission, which I'm honored to represent the religious community on that commission, is putting on 11-day vigil. An 11-day vigil starting today at 2 o'clock over at the Methodist Church is where it starts today, where that wonderful opera singer who sings the Mary songs is singing. Pauline. Yeah. So starting today for 11 days, after today it's going to be at 5:30 in the plaza every day. Okay, every day at 5:30. I'm speaking on Tuesday at 5:30. But different community leaders are doing the different days around different topics, and I think it's right in flavor with what we're saying here today, because a young man named Ben thought up this idea, and he wanted to bring forth in our community the areas that need healing. You know, not just say we are a city of peace, but hey, what do we need to keep working on? What are the areas we need to keep healing? So each day there'll be a different topic of areas we need to keep healing. So please come to those vigils at 5:30 in the plaza.
And you already know yours is on addiction,
Yeah, I'm doing it on addiction. And thank you, Donna Benjamin, for being on the Council of Peace, too. She's done a lot of work.
Everybody's welcome, and the Wednesday meetings are from 4 to 6 at the Ashland Culture of Peace, which is on right diagonally from across from the post office on Linky Way. So please, the reason I still volunteer for it is because we get so much done. We are tackling a lot of different issues. And another quick message, I saw Michelle and Eric in Los Angeles, and they all sang hello.
I'm also going to say one announcement. We do need help with the breakdown today. If anybody could stay, I can't lift everything myself.
Okay, so for our closing song together, I apologize for going slightly over 12, but just a short, familiar song that we'd like to send you out with, because it's just a great song they're bringing through our hearts and minds to reprogram everything. So here it is.